Hello my lovely crafters, this is Crafty Sue 519. Welcome to my channel. And today is Tea Tuesday. But as you see, I have no tea on my desk this morning. I'm past tea time. It's afternoon, so it is Diet Coke time. Anyhow, it's been quite a morning with insurances and stuff like that. So thought I would come on and tell you a little bit about my vacation. For the first time in almost 6 years, I went back to Rhode Island. My oldest son, Jay, called me back in December, I believe, and asked me to come up because I hadn't seen their new house yet. They bought a beautiful big home in a town called Exeter, which is out in the country. And they are on 6 acres of land. Gorgeous home, beautiful property. Love it. The kind of living I love. I miss living like that. I lived out in the country as well when I lived in Rhode Island. Anyhow, he said he would buy me a ticket and for me to come to visit. And he suggested me come a particular week in February because the kids would be out on their winter break from school. And I thought about it for a while and finally agreed. And on February 18th, I flew up to Rhode Island. Now, I do not like to fly alone at all. Like my buttons, I thought I'd put them here just as a little something to look at since I don't have my tea stuff out. Anyhow, I don't like to fly. Finally got on my plane in Tampa, rolled out onto the tarmac and sat and sat and sat. And finally the pilot came on and said, we have a delay. It's very windy up in New England and all flights have been delayed going up there. So we sat on the tarmac for an hour and a half. Did not do well with my anxiety sitting there all that time. But eventually, of course, we took off and the flight to Rhode Island went very nicely until we hit New England and it got very bumpy and a very hard landing in Warwick. As most people call it Providence, but there's a big sign in the airport when you're walking out that says, contrary to what you may think, this is not Providence, this is Warwick. That's where the airport is. So my daughter-in-law met me at the airport and we went to her home and she gave me a tour. Beautiful, beautiful house. I had a nice big guest room, the most comfortable bed I've ever slept on, and it was right across from the bathroom, which was really nice too. So that was my first day. My son came home, the kids came home from school. Actually, when I got there, my granddaughter was there and she came running over and gave me a big hug. And oh gosh, she was 9 last time I saw her. She's 15 now. And it was quite this emotional moment. And JJ came home from school later in the afternoon and he came right over and gave me a big hug. I've always told him he's the best hugger ever. He gives great big hugs. And he's not afraid to come over and just hug me, which I love, 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 love. Anyhow, so for that first week with the kids being out of school, I did not plan to do anything. I wanted to be home with my grandkids. And that turned out to not be so great because JJ spent most of his time in the basement. They have a finished basement and he has his own video game room down there. So now that they can play video games with their friends and talk to their friends while they're playing, he spent most of his time down there. And Alexis spent all of her time with her friends. And if she wasn't with a friend, she was locked up in a room. Typical teenage girl, I guess. I wouldn't know. I never had a daughter, but this is what I'm told. So I really didn't get to see the kids very much at all that whole week that they were out of school. Crazy. Fortunately for me, I brought some yarn and crochet stuff I needed to keep myself busy. Thank you, Terry-O, for the crochet hook set that you had sent me a while back. I took that with me and it was perfect. It had everything in it that I needed except for little scissors, but I bought a set of little scissors and put them in there, and it'll stay like that. And that is my traveling buddy, I'll tell you. I crocheted like crazy. If anybody saw my Saturday mishmash, you saw the 5 hats I've made. I've got a 6th one almost done. It's actually my 7th because my nephew Brandon came a couple of days after I had gotten there, and I had a couple of hats done and he stole one. So, which I was very happy for him to have. And I've been told that he's worn it every single day since I gave it to him. So that's very nice. So what did I end up doing? My plan was on the Monday that the kids went back to school, I would go to my hometown, which was Woonsocket, Rhode Island, which is on the Massachusetts border. It was an old French-Canadian city when I was growing up, but not like that anymore. But I still have family who live there, and I wanted to go see my nephew Ronnie and my sister Dell. And I didn't tell them I was coming. I wanted to surprise them. So I went to Ronnie's house, which was my sister Lucille's house at one time, but both she and her husband have passed away, and Ronnie now has the house. And knocked on a door, and he wasn't home. I said, oh no, don't tell me I drove to the other end of the state and he's not here. I felt so bad. So I went on to my sister's apartment, got there, knocked on the door a couple of times, and the door finally opened, and there was Ronnie. I said, what? What are you doing here? He goes, what are you doing here? And I went in, and he says, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? He said, Auntie Dale left for Florida yesterday. I missed my sister. She flew down here while I was up there, so I never got to see her. But Ronnie and I had a very nice visit for a couple of hours, and he was there cleaning her apartment for her. She's 86 years old, so I'm sure she welcomed that help. So I never got to see my sister. Never got to see my friends. One of my friends, Lynn, gosh, she texted me the second I landed in Warwick, and I texted her that Saturday after the week the kids were out of school, and she didn't answer until a week later, and by that time it was too late. It was my last weekend there, and I wanted to spend it with my family. So I didn't get to see much of anybody. My 2 sons, and of course my son's wife and the grandkids. My nephew I saw a couple of times. And that was about it. I didn't see many people. Didn't do a whole heck of a lot. But did a couple of my favorite things. I did get a New England fish and chip dinner, which was incredible. So good. Still amazed I can't find anything like that here in Florida. And if any of you watched my short, I did stop and have wieners for lunch one day. And they're just these funny looking little hot dogs. They put them in a steamed bun, and they put this spicy meat sauce over them with mustard and chopped onion, and then they sprinkle it with celery salt. I've eaten these my whole life, and the only place I think you can get them is Rhode Island. And they were incredible, incredible. Heartburn, oh yeah. But I love them. I love them. So my one dream while I was there was to see snow, and the day after I got there, it snowed. I think I put up a tiny little video about that too. So I was very happy to see the snowfall. It wasn't much of anything. I couldn't go out and build a snowman or anything. There wasn't enough, but at least I got to see it fall. So that was a good thing. Never got to see a deer. My daughter-in-law called me twice while bringing my granddaughter to school and said, I just saw 2 deer on the road. I saw 2 deer and a baby. I was so mad. I never got to see them. Even one night, my son was coming home and he called me and he says, Mom, look in the driveway. He says, I'm just pulling into the driveway. There's a deer in the driveway. And I ran to the front windows to look and I couldn't see a thing. Couldn't see a thing. It was so dark. So I never got to see the deer. Oh well, I've seen lots of deer in my life, but I wanted to see some in my son's yard. Didn't happen. I did go shopping. I did go to Hobby Lobby in Warwick, and it is the biggest Hobby Lobby I've ever been in, ever. Oh my gosh, this place was huge. I can't remember what store this was before Hobby Lobby took it over, but it was a department store, I think, like a Kmart or something like that. So this place was humongous. It had a whole room to itself for just fabrics and yarns. Just for that. And that's what I went looking for, was yarn, but it wasn't the week yarn was on sale, so I didn't buy any. But it was humongous. Even my son was impressed with the store. And I did go to Joann's. Actually, it was morning of another a little bit of a snowstorm. And we drove back to Warwick and he brought me to Joann's because I ran out of yarn. I only brought a little bit. I didn't know I would be crocheting that much. So we went to Joann's and I did buy a bunch of yarn there that morning. And that's about it for the shopping, other than a little bit of groceries. Then came my granddaughter's birthday. March 1st was her 15th birthday. So we went to spend the day in Newport, which is my favorite place in Rhode Island. For any of you who don't know, Newport was a very, very famous place back at the turn of the 1900s for the wealthy from New York. They built these giant mansions that they called their summer cottages. Oh my gosh, cottage. I mean, 30 rooms and ridiculously big. And but I love that town so much. The Tennis Hall of Fame is in Newport, and of course it's on the ocean, so it's beautiful. And they have this walkway that goes for 6 miles, and it runs behind the mansions because the mansions were all built one right after the other on this one particular road. And this walkway goes behind them all, so you can walk on what's called the cliff walk. And believe me, it is a cliff walk. It is a dirt walkway behind the mansions with no fencing to protect you from falling off this cliff into the ocean. Yeah, it's a little crazy. And the day we were there, if you saw the shorts I put up, it was windy and cold. Oh my gosh. I went to the breakers and tried talking about that, but you can't hear me very well because of all of the wind. But I had to get out of there. It was too cold, and no way I was walking on that walkway with no protection. Get blown off of it. But we went there, and what else did we do in Newport? Oh, we went shopping. My granddaughter got a lot of money for her birthday, so they have this little area with shopping. So we went there, stopped in at Panera and had a snack because we were all hungry. And when we were leaving there, we were supposed to go out to eat at this really nice Italian restaurant, but I didn't feel well that whole day. So my son brought me home and they went out to eat. We all got a little sick that week, just like a little bug, little thing. Didn't last too long, but we all, the adults, not the kids, felt a little bit sick. And that's about all I did. I cooked a couple of times. I made Dynamites. My son wanted Dynamites. And I don't know, you may have heard me talk about them before. I made them for Super Bowl Sunday. Tom Brady's coming back. Yay, 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 yay. Yay, I'm so happy about that. Sorry, I get so excited. I just love him. But I made a big pot of Dynamites. My nephew and his girlfriend came, and we all had that for dinner one night. So that was nice. And then another night, I made a big shepherd's pie, and we had that for dinner one night. And that was it. I did a lot of sitting around, a lot of rest. I would say 80% of the time I was alone because they were working or the kids were in school. So it turned out to be a lot quieter than I thought it was going to be. I didn't do as much as I thought I was going to. The day that I had the wieners for lunch, I did go and check out a casino in Lincoln that's been there for a long, long time. And Bally's, who has a big casino in Las Vegas, has taken it over. And I was curious as to what they did with the place, and very surprised that in this little town in Rhode Island, there's this big casino now, and they're building a hotel, and it was huge, and I hated it. I walked in, and they had so many slot machines everywhere. You could barely even walk between them. Oh, I stayed for about an hour or so, and I just got so claustrophobic and had a major panic attack and left. I don't like crowded places. I just don't like that. So that was the end of that day. And not a whole heck of a lot. I'm sorry I can't tell you a whole lot of exciting stuff. I didn't do a lot of exciting stuff. On Saturday, before I left on Monday, my daughter-in-law and granddaughter sat with me. My daughter-in-law, Mabel, is from Puerto Rico. So my grandkids are half Puerto Rican. And my granddaughter just turned 15, which means it's quinceanera time. So for anybody who's familiar with Hispanic culture, it's quinceanera is like a coming out. And it's very religious as well. And she is going to be having her quinceanera party in August. So I have to go back in August for this big celebration. And it's got lots of traditions involved and very, very interesting. A lot different than anything we French people do, that's for sure. And I was asked that night to be part of it. There is a part of the ceremony where someone special, and in this case will be the grandmothers, give gifts to the quinceanera. And Mabel's mother is going to give her a tiara and place it on her head. And I have to get her silver earrings and put the earrings on her. And my ex-husband is going to give her a stuffed bear, and I believe it's supposed to be dressed in a dress. And it symbolizes giving her her last toy. And then my son will go up, and when she walks in, and her gown is incredible. Oh my gosh, you should see this thing. When she walks into the room, she is wearing sneakers under the gown. So after the gifts are given to her, my son will go up to her and he will remove her sneakers and put her in high heels. And that represents her going from a child to a woman. So very symbolic. And then she is going to take a wand and give it to the next person in the family who will have a quinceanera, who is her 5-year-old cousin. So 10 years they have to wait before the next quinceanera and their family. But I think it's very cool and be very interesting to see. Different cultures and different traditions. It's going to be pretty cool. So that's about it. Monday morning, I was all packed, ready to go. And I have to say, my favorite thing about the whole trip were the hugs and kisses I got every single day from all 4 of them. Looked forward to that so much. Just held on and I didn't want to let go. Makes me want to cry. I get too emotional. It was very hard seeing the kids go off to school that morning and my son off to work. And then he decided to come home and take me to the airport instead of my daughter-in-law, which was very nice. So we got that ride together at the end. And he brought me back to the airport and off I went. And as always with me, flights can never go smoothly. As I'm sitting there in a very crowded section, it wasn't bad coming up to Rhode Island. Who wanted to go to Rhode Island in wintertime? But everybody in Rhode Island wanted to come to Florida in the winter, and it was packed. And sat there and got a message on my phone from Southwest saying that our flight was delayed a half hour. And then got another message saying the flight was delayed another hour. So our flight left, we boarded 2 hours later than we should have originally. So I sat in that airport for 3 hours before I could get on the plane. And like I said, it was packed. Every seat was taken. And a mother and daughter sat on the side of me, and the mother coughed. The whole flight drove me crazy. Thank goodness you still had to wear masks on the planes, because she just was hacking up a lung, I'll tell you. She made me very, very nervous. But I finally got home 3 hours later than I expected, and Grumpy was standing there waiting for me. And no, he wasn't standing there waiting for me. He was in the car, and I called him, and he came and got me. He was in the cell phone lot waiting for me. So that was it. That was my trip. It was quiet and peaceful, and I really enjoyed it. I think just the peacefulness of sitting out in the woods like that, and they have 2 little dogs, Charlie and Jack, and they are the cutest little things, and they kept me company all the time. They were wonderful, and I didn't mind. I didn't mind the alone time. I really didn't. I never get that, so I liked it. I never put the TV on. My son couldn't believe it that I didn't watch TV, but I wasn't interested. I crocheted or played some games on my iPad or took a walk, you know, whatever I felt like doing, and that was it. Quiet, peaceful vacation. And I miss them all terribly. Miss them all. So, been home a week today. No, yesterday. Made a week that I've been home. And it's nice to be back home with in my craft room and all my fun little things. And I've been making cards. I'll show those Saturday. And I'm crocheting, almost done another hat. And that's it. And I've talked way too long. Way too long. So I'm gonna end this. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. And until next time, love yous. Bye.